see anybody walking.
Is that what
All
you're
right.
asking? Is that what you're
Yeah.
asking?
Is there anybody coming? Welcome. This is the January 2026 Fiddle Club meeting and workshop. And this is our workshop live stream and live workshop right here. So every once in a while, I like to delve into pieces by a particular Scottish fiddle composer. And one favorite who's well worth looking at more than once is Robert McIntosh.
Oh, yeah.
So this here is a sort of reproduction copy of 4 books that Robert McIntosh put out in the I actually have the dates. 1783 for his first collection, 93, 1796, and for his 4th collection, 1803. So over the course of 2 decades, he puts out 4 books. Most of them are original compositions, but not strictly so. So they're, and each book has a slightly different character. So book 1, Robert McIntosh, let me just give you his dates. He lived around, they don't know exactly when he was born, 1745-ish, and he died in 1807. So, through the whole golden period, as they call it, of Scottish fiddle music, he was one of the big players. He had a family that was also musical, so the best known of his musical offspring is Abraham McIntosh, who also put out his own books of music. And so we've had over the years quite a few McIntosh tunes. I featured McIntosh's music in book 6. So we got something like 9 or 10 McIntosh pieces back then. And we did it again in book 14. We're now at book 33, so it's been a while since we featured McIntosh. Although I will let you know that when I went to look it up how many McIntosh tunes we'd featured, there are actually about a dozen more scattered throughout other years of Fiddle Club. So we like McIntosh. Each of McIntosh's collections has a somewhat different character. He kind of eased his way into fiddle music from a classical direction. He's known as a classical music composer, and the David Johnson, who wrote this sort of Scottish fiddling historical collection book, where he commented and selected things from all sorts of 18th century sources. At first, he dismissed Robert McIntosh because he was looking kind of from the classical musician perspective, and he said, well, this is kind of a second-rate classical composer. He was okay. But David Johnson was worked on by some of us in the fiddle community and changed his mind altogether, and in his 2nd edition praised McIntosh for what he really is, which is a guy who managed to incorporate some really useful and interesting elements of his classical background into fiddle music. The result is some very profound jigs. We look at sort of major categories of tunes in Scottish fiddle music. We have strathspeys, we have reels, we have jigs. And jigs are usually the light tunes. They're kind of fluffy and bouncy and silly and not very deep. McIntosh writes some seriously deep jigs. Not every one of them. He also has some that are just kind of, oh, that was pleasant. But some of my favorite jigs with, the kind with the real substance on the bones of them, right? Those jigs, many of them are McIntosh tunes. So whenever I feature McIntosh as a composer, I will absolutely give you some jigs because they're well worth looking at. He also wrote a lot of really nice strathspeys. And again, some of them have very successfully incorporated classical elements in their compositional style. And then his reels. Some of his reels are also pretty awesome. However, many of them feel like violin etudes. So, not quite as successful in the genre of reel as I would say, as he was in jigs. But he absolutely knocked it out of the park with his jigs. So that is my quick, sort of summary of Robert McIntosh. Book 1, it's mainly little suites of tunes with piano accompaniment. So there'll often be, I'll show it to the camera here, 3 lines of music, 1 for the melody instrument and then 2 for the accompanying instruments. So it's almost like chamber music suites. Amongst them, there's, a few good jigs. The jig movement, right? And there are a number of minuets and other things that are not done as dance music in our current repertoire, but are historically so. Nonetheless, there are a few good tunes in Book 1 that are, fiddle tunes in the more usual sense of the word. Book 2, boy, did he come into his own. A lot of the really good McIntosh tunes are in Book 2. In Book 3, he started to say, well, hey, the Gauss are putting together these collections of tunes that have their own original music in them, but they're also arrangements of traditional tunes. So he said, I'm going to do that too. And he put more traditional tunes in Book 3. And he didn't quite do it with the success that the Gauss did it. Because one of the things the Gauss did was cleverly arrange on adjacent pages little sets of tunes that would sound good together, one after another. Mm-hmm. And on the McIntosh pages, it's kind of like, here's a good tune. Here's another good tune. Here's a good tune. They're not really in a suite that would sound good played together. So he didn't have that cleverness of arranging like the Gauss did. Nonetheless, he's got not only some good traditional tunes, but more of his own original compositions that are really awesome. Book 4, you start to say, maybe he used up all his good stuff. And then you get to some of his very, very best pieces in Book 4. So even though a lot of the pieces in Book 4 are like, he kind of wrote something like that before. And in a few cases, he actually reused tunes.
Did he use the same name?
I haven't investigated that in great detail, but when I was reading through, I was like, wait a minute. I saw that in Book 2. But nonetheless, Book 4 has some of his very best strathspeys and jigs in it. So he obviously didn't lose his touch. It's just that maybe his average wasn't quite as high as in Book 2 and 3, which are really remarkable collections. They just have so much good stuff in them. So all together, one of my favorite fiddle composers. And I will still let somebody else be the judge of how good his classical music is. His classical-ish fiddle pieces are pleasant. But I focus on the fiddle tunes because that's obviously where my passion is. So I thought I'd give you a tune to learn by ear that is a jig in a straightforward key, because we all need to know more McIntosh jigs. And this one's in the key of D. And so let me just play it for you. The title is Miss Dr. Grant's Reel. So, yes, you can make what you want of the double honorific, but I think actually it means the daughter of Dr. Grant, not like in German they always say things like Herr Professor, Frau Professor, so that when it wouldn't be all that strange in German. However, this is in Scots English, and so before you get the idea that this is the daughter of a physician, it could just as well be a daughter of the rector. because a doctor of theology was one of the most common doctorates that people were given that title for. And a lot of people who practiced medicine in those days actually did not go by doctor because they didn't have a medical doctorate degree. They just practiced medicine after an apprenticeship of some kind. So, let me play the tune for you. All right, so let's give it a go. And we're in the key of D. Does everybody have their instrument in tune?
I hope so.
I think we need a little tuning here. And let me just make sure mine hasn't gone anywhere strange. Yeah, I'm a little flat. Well, the G string's being cranky again. Okay, is everybody satisfied enough? All right. Oh, all right. So, key of D. So those are all notes in the D arpeggio. You're going to need your arpeggio notes quite frequently in a Macintosh tune. And actually, let's go ahead and warm up on the D scale. Let's keep going. Let's not go the rest of the way up. Let's go down. And that's as low as you need to go in this tune. But that's quite a range. He does actually use both and that entire range. He's using the whole range. Now let's play the D arpeggio, because this you're really going to need. So arpeggio is always the first, third, and fifth note of the scale. So F sharp, A, and D. And take it up. And let's get that low A. Okay, you're going to be using those notes. You're going to be doing arpeggio sequences quite frequently. So our opening sequence, pick up note of C sharp. And then it's arpeggio notes. Macintosh himself puts a tie in there. that make sense? That's why I taught you all the notes, so that when I tie them together, you know they're all still there. But you can feel how the lilt happens. This is just one of the ways that Macintosh really gets jigs. I told you these are some of the best Scottish fiddle jigs. And yes, the clock agrees. All right, so we had with the pickup note. It continues with the same arpeggio. And up the scale. Yes, and everybody wants to go to that D. You're like, I gotta go to the D. Yes, you will. I promise. It's the next thing. But I want to put the first two measures with their pickup note together so you hear the opening sequence. So far, so good? If you need more details or have questions, you interrupt and ask. Or at least, even if you don't interrupt, ask it at an opportune moment. Because there's always a chance there's somebody who has not, they might have the same question you do. So I might as well address them. All right, so we have that opening sequence. And of course it leads directly back to a D, and it repeats the first bar. But it goes to a new place, so it's down there. All right, next bit. This is an A arpeggio. E, C sharp, A. And up by way of scale. So that fourth bar, arpeggio, scale. Those two bars, bars 3 and 4, it's like the beginning, but heads downward. So far, so good. The 4 bars together? Let's do it. Pickup note was?
C sharp.
C sharp, very good. Always remember your pickup note. And again. few more times?
Yes, please.
Yeah, the
Okay,
lower part,
let's
yeah.
do it then. All right. So one more thing that I'll just well, you know what? I'm going to teach the rest of the phrase, then I'll tell you more about this. All right. Any predictions on what happens next?
Repeat.
Yes. So we have the same thing with the lilt, the arpeggio figure on D with the lilt. So it's the same two measures as we opened with. And again. And the last two bars of the phrase are scale, arpeggio, and final. There's your scale. Going up. The arpeggio. So let's add that scale and arpeggio together. Final, right? So the last two measures. Okay, we have 8 measures of this tune. It's the entire first half of Miss Dr. Grant. So let's put it together. I'll play it for you first so you get it in your ear and you can finger along on your instrument. I'll play. questions or issues?
It's starting to get there.
What's that?
I say it's starting to get there.
It's starting to get there.
A little rough.
Yeah, and as usual, if the pace of ear learning is faster than you're comfortable with, the thing to do is pick something, some part of it to learn, and grab that part when it comes around and start adding and building on it. Yeah. So, otherwise, ready for the next part? All right. The next part is really arpeggio land. So, pickup note is a high G. So find that note. Okay. What arpeggio did we practice at the beginning?
D.
The D arpeggio, and we went both up and down, right? So if I told you that's the next note, well, we're going to arpeggio. So it's just those three notes, A, F sharp, D. Congratulations, you've got one bar done. That's bar one of the B part. Bar two, more arpeggios, different key, so it's E, G, and B. Up, then down. Okay, so far we have this. All arpeggios, right? Questions? I'm hearing a lot of notes that are maybe not B. Is anybody having trouble locating any of the notes in this passage so far? Just more practice? Yeah, okay, more practice. Let's go through it again. Oh, hey, I heard a lot more B's that time.
Yeah, there you go.
Bar 3 is the same as bar 1. So let's do bar 4. Bar 4 is not an arpeggio. It's a scale, but it's a little bit of a fancy scale. We just did this arpeggio. And he wants to land here. And he wants to do it via scale. And he wants it to take 6 notes. So here we are. If we just dove down there, we get there too fast. So we're going to go up and then jump down. That's sounding really good. And I just want to mention this because, I've played enough fiddle tunes that I've learned most of the composer's tricks. I've also played enough Macintosh tunes to know what kind of tricks Macintosh likes to use. But this is basically solving the problem that I just outlined. You want a scale, you want it to go from here to here. It only takes 3 notes, but you have 6. So what do you do? This is one of the classic things to do, which is to, instead of heading straight down the scale, go up before you go down. And it works. It works very predictably well. So let's put it into the context of our 4 bars of the B part. Started with a G pickup note, 2 arpeggios down from A, Then arpeggio up on E and then back down. The A arpeggio down to D. And a scale that goes up then down. So that's our structural map. Let's try it. And again. That sounded really good. A couple more times? No? No?
No.
No. Okay. She's just being contrary. I'm like expecting a certain reply, so she's just gonna break the mold a little bit. Okay. However, I will tell you the next part is not at all hard. You already know half of it because it starts with and then and now we have a different 2-bar ending. The different 2-bar ending is up the scale, down the scale, and arpeggio all the way down. So let's do up the scale from F sharp, down the scale, arpeggio notes on D. Again. Part, which is arpeggio, arpeggio, arpeggio up, arpeggio down. Scale and arpeggio all the way down. That bit. Ready? Caught you by surprise with the scale, didn't I? I did. I heard people getting ready to arpeggio away. So that's the little twist. It's like, haha. You thought it was going to be an arpeggio. It's not. It's a scale. So, unexpected, but actually kind of predictable still. This one is not too wild off the regular map. But let's do that last 4 bars, and then I want to try to put the 8-bar phrase together. Ready, and scale. Let's do that again. Okay, the 8-bar phrase. Remember how it went. It started with a what pickup note?
C sharp.
That's the first part. You're correct. This is the second part. It has a different pickup note. G, high G. And then it does our arpeggio thing. The same arpeggio thing. The scale of 6 notes. Not an arpeggio. Let's do it. And again. good. All right. Now, we have an 8-bar phrase. We started, our A part was 8 bars repeated. The B part is 8 bars.
Not repeat.
Yeah, not repeated, because Macintosh seldom does direct repeats on his second part. He usually develops the tune more. And that's just his style. There are a lot of perfectly good jigs where it's 8 bars, repeat, and then a different 8 bars, repeat. And it's a fully fledged tune, and it doesn't sound like, wow, they ran out of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But Macintosh almost always extends the part. So it starts the same way. Oh, we just did. So we're way down there. So he does two pickup notes. And then it's still the same for the 6-note scale. And then we have to have a fancy ending. So, but that first 4 bars of the second half of the B part is a direct repeat, with the exception of the pickup notes being 2 notes instead of just 1. So let's play that far. We're going to play 12 bars of the B part. And now the fancy ending. The fancy ending is all scales. Here's the first bar of it. Next bar. All right, so those 2 bars back to back. And here's the culmination of everything and the high point of the tune. The big splashy 4-bar extra developed ending is 2 scales and then a scale that has a jump and comes down, and then the repeated landing. So let's play last 4 bars put together. Scale, scale, more scale. Here we go. Okay, good. And let's do that again. Okay, think you can remember that? Okay, we're going to put it on the end. So we're going to play the entire B part, 16 bars long. How did that B part start?
With a G.
With a high G. Arpeggio. Sound familiar? Okay. So let's give it a go. Remember, the 4-bar ending is scale, scale, more scale. All right. Here we go. B part. All right, I think we better do that again. And then we should remember how the tune started and put the whole thing together. But let's do this B part again. Let's do it again. Okay. All right. We need to hook it up with the beginning of the tune. So, one thing I will point out before we put it all together, I'm going to say I am teaching this with the dottedness built in. So I didn't even mention it. We're just all playing it that way. It's one of the advantages of playing by ear. It's a style point. The Scottish jigs are dotted rather than played straight. And so it's seldom notated that way. In fact, in these 18th century books, there will be a jig that has like 2 triplets where it's notated with the dots. And then after that, they just don't. And they don't really mean, oh, this one bar is lilted and everything else is not. You know, so they're just kind of hinting to you what the style is supposed to be, and then you're just supposed to, you know how to feel the style. And that's the case in a lot of this music, is that a literal interpretation of what's written is not necessarily the best. But you kind of have to know the context of it so that you can interpret it from these original sources with the right feel. The other thing is that we're missing, and we will still be missing even in our Fiddle Club transcriptions. And Mackintosh wrote these tunes to be played with an accompaniment. And all of his books have a bass line. And, a lot of the people buying and playing this music, were playing keyboards. Now, everybody in those days knew that this was an audience, market for their music books. So they all have bass lines. Some of the bass lines are really bad. Some of the bass lines are really basic. Robert McIntosh's bass lines are not basic. They are usually very interesting. He does have some that are more, spare, and others that are very busy. But as a general rule, a lot of the McIntosh bass lines are not boring. They're usually pretty interesting, and sometimes they give you quite a different idea of what what chords go with this music. And he wasn't simplistic in his accompaniments. So let's play the whole thing. How did it start?
C sharp.
C sharp, very good. And then it had that tie, right? To give it the syncopation, right? Let's give it a try. dance speed at the end. So that gives you a little bit of a better idea at that speed of how it feels with the lilting and with the syncopation. And so my personal preference is that I do that. I do it there as well. He only wrote it twice. Only on there he separated it. And then it was there again on the repeat of the main theme. I do it 3 times because it's fun. Plus, I think it's one of the things that's interesting about this tune is that lilt with the syncopation in it. And I think, there's kind of this trend in modern Scottish tune composition to put more syncopation in. You hear it in reels, you hear it in jigs. Fortunately, we don't hear it much in strathspeys. But people act like it's a new idea. And actually, there's this evidence that in the 18th century they were doing syncopation in the jigs. So, less so in the reels. But definitely in the jigs. So not really that new of an idea to syncopate. But I think it's a lot of fun to see the composer's own idea. And I went through all 4 books. I only found one misprint that I could say, well, that's definitely a misprint. Mm-hmm. And so I think that this is a case where the composer, if it's printed that way, he probably really meant it. It was not just like, oh, whatever, stray marks, leave them in, So, Miss Dr. Grant's, here's the thing. It's called Miss Dr. Grant's Reel. We know it's a jig. It's in 6/8. Mm-hmm. Of course it's a jig. A reel, as we define it, is in cut time. Well, reel in the 18th century just meant something lively. And Mackintosh uses it that way. He has Miss Dr. Grant's Reel, which is a jig. He has Miss Grant of Grant's Reel, which is a strathspey. And then he has, Mr. Fraser of Lovett's Reel, which is actually a reel. So it's just, he uses it to mean lively tune. He's not the only one, but it just, I just want to be very clear that calling it a reel does not make it a reel. In the 18th century context, words do not all have the same meaning. So, lively tune, in this case a jig. I think there's only 1 or 2 of the jigs that he calls jig.
No.
It's almost all of them are named so-and-so's reel. So, it's just how it is. All right, are you up for another tune by ear?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, question.
I just want to make a comment. This tune will pair nicely with Miss Dixon's.
Yes, which is another tune by Mackintosh. It is. In fact, Miss Dixon's reel, since Jane mentioned it, it was in our book, and I believe it was in the book 6. Yes, book 6, page 11. Etc.
Is that one from your CDs?
I recorded that one, yeah. That's on my first album, the Terpsichore Scottish Dance Music album. I recorded a lot of Mackintosh jigs. It's a little open secret. He's kind of like my favorite jig composer. So there's Mackintosh tunes on every one of my Scottish dance albums, and a few in between. So, in fact, if I could get my old time band to play Macintosh jigs, I would. All right. Should we learn something that's maybe not a jig next? All right. Well,
It's windy.
Yeah.
it's windy. Yeah.
Windy.
Yeah. All right. So,
I can put the heat up if anybody needs, feels like it's not running enough.
I'm fine. Okay. Shall we go for one of his reels? All right.
Is it an etude or not?
Well, this is one of the least etude.
Okay, least etude.
But this is Macintosh we're talking about. Now, some of the etude reels are awesome.
Oh.
And I have one of them. But seriously, a lot of these tunes would make great practice tunes. For any classical teacher trying to teach people about scales and arpeggio work and facility and changing from scale to arpeggio and back. And Macintosh would be a great exercise. But let me play this tune for you. It's called the Honorable Mr. Fraser of Lovett's Reel. Now, Fraser of Lovett was one of the big names in Scottish history because Fraser of Lovett and had a castle in the Highlands. They the Lord Lovett, so there's a title associated with this family. More than one Lord Lovett was very famous for various things. One of them lost his head.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that was after he joined for the second time in trying to overthrow the British government. So, and then another Fraser of Lovett, who, since his father lost his head and forfeited the lordship, he was known as the Master of Lovett instead of Lord Lovett, because they took the title away, but then they gave it back. He was very famous for his military exploits, which, from our perspective in the U.S., he was on the British side fighting against the American Revolution. But he had quite a bit of success in certain instances. So this Honorable Mr. Fraser of Lovett means that he's the son of one of the titled people. In Macintosh's book, his name is spelled unusually. It's spelled Fraiseer. This is not because the family necessarily spelled it that way. The usual spelling of Fraser is Fraser, but it really shows its origin. The family name is of Norman origin, and if anybody know French? So what does Fraise mean?
Oh, fresh.
What's it mean?
Fresh, isn't it?
Strawberry. Flesh.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a strawberry. So the crest of the Fraser clan has strawberries, strawberry flower and leaves, and in the heraldry. So it's Mr. Strawberry. But Mr. Fraser of Lovett's Reel, let me play it for you. Okay, does that sound a little more like an etude?
Yeah.
So it also sounds a little more classical than some of your standard reels. Okay, it's in the key of B minor. So let's just locate your range. So that high B note, you're really going to need it. Okay. So the opening figure, first of all, our pickup note is a G natural. Right. So the opening figure is has a high pedal tone, or a drone note, which is the F sharp. So that's quite important. You're coming back to it every other note. So basically, as soon as I can, I park that note there so that it's there when I come back to it. Let's try to find those notes. With the pickup note, G. Thing.
Yes.
Okay, next thing is all A arpeggio. A, C sharp, E, A, but not in that order. Right, but one of those notes is a good guess for every note in this measure. So it's in scrambled order though. That's the first half. Second half, that's right down the arpeggio. All right, so the second measure put together, scrambled, then unscrambled. Okay, so far so good. I'm going to make a note to myself, by the way. Nope, that one's not working. I found something that I want to check against original sources, and as usual, if I find something that's actually wrong, I issue corrections. Pete puts them up on the Fiddle Club website. Usually these corrections are not of substance. If it is something really of substance, I will correct it right on the spot. But this is potentially a minor correction, so I'm not going to get into any details. Let's put the two bits together. That bit. good? All right. Third bar, same as the first with one change. Last note is a D. Let's find that again. Okay, and from that D, we have our most scale passage so far. The bar right before that so you can hear that transition, which is the D note. Again. Let's put together 4 bars. Again. Yes. Definitely can do it again. Here we go. And again. Better? Okay. It continues with the same pickup note, the same opening sequence, but goes to D this time. But then does this almost the same. That's a misprint. That's got to be a misprint. Let's find out. Okay. Yes, that is a misprint. So in the second bar of line 2, there's a B note. It should be an A note. So I will fix that and he will post it. Or when you get the sheet music handed out, you can just change it. All right, so. That's the same as before. So let's just play those 2 bars. for the A part. Putting them together. And the last bar of the phrase. So it's a stair-step scale. I don't know if anybody else did this when they were kids, but I definitely did, where you jump up 2 and then down 1, and jump up 2 and down 1. Or you jump down 2 and up 1, and down 2 and up 1. That's how this is. The last bar is a scale, but it's with jumps. It's a pattern. So the fancy 2-bar ending is a scale. Scale with a jump. Stair steps. Last 2 bars. Okay, let's put the whole A part together. It's 8 bars long. That is it, by the way. It's following the 18th century model of reels, which were 16-bar tunes in general. This whole business of reels lasting 32 bars is a much more recent convention. And in the 18th century, 16 bars was enough for most reels. And so if it was a developed reel with a second ending, that was the full 8 bars rather than 4 bars repeated. According to this structure used widely throughout the 1700s. Okay, so how did the tune start? What was the pickup note? G, and then it was this high drone note of F sharp. Then the scrambled arpeggio. The same thing. G transition. So that first ending is almost scales. Then the same pickup note of G. Scrambled arpeggio. The fancy ending scale. Stairs. So let's do the whole thing. Wow. Yeah. It's a workout, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah. So any of these would make good exercises for your classical students,
Mhm.
if you have classical students, or if you yourself are trying to facilitate your fingering for classical music. These reels are good exercises for that. All right, we still have second part. 8 more bars. So just like we had kind of a thematic bar in the A part, in the B part we also do. The pickup note is F sharp because we're doing B minor arpeggios here. So B, F sharp, D. Let's find our B minor arpeggio notes. I want you to focus on the high part of that arpeggio. And do it again. And do it again. Okay, you have just learned the first bar of the B part because it's... You have options for bowing. You could... with slurs. I kind of like... I think that gives it more differentiation. I also think that it lets you play with the accents more, which is one thing that, if I'm gonna, I already told you that Macintosh's reels are not necessarily my favorite, right? I love the jigs, but I don't love the reels as much, and it's because they miss the rhythmic element of reel playing. But here's a chance to insert it. That's all about rhythm, because the melody there is just an arpeggio. So, what comes after the arpeggio is... So more arpeggio exercises, key of A. Okay, very good. So let's get our theme. Hooked up with that. Again. Okay, very good. Then we have our theme. Does that ending sound familiar? Yeah, that's also bar 4 of the A part. It's exactly the same. So let's hook it to our theme. Let's do it again. Can you guess what's next?
The theme.
The same theme. The first two bars over again, yeah? With an F sharp pickup note, because I mentioned that was F sharp pickup note here in the B part. Okay, good. And we have 2 bars left. Any predictions? Is it going to be something we saw before?
Probably.
Not. Probably not. Because this is Macintosh. He has to have a fancy second ending.
I'm guessing it starts with an upward stair step?
It starts with an octave jump. So it's the fanciest thing to date.
Yeah.
Right, so octave jump. A sharp. That's very classical. That's a very classical little figure there. He couldn't resist. G natural. Right down the scale. Okay, let's put the B part together. So our B part has a what pickup note? F sharp. And then it has what theme? Then the theme with the first part ending, and then the theme again with the repeated 2 bars of the B part, and then the fancy ending with the A sharp in it. The octave jump and the A sharp. Let's go. All right. I think it's time to put the whole reel together. What was our first theme? It had the drone note, yeah. And the pickup note was G. So I'm just going to point this out. There are both G sharps and G naturals in this tune. There are A sharp, 1 A sharp, and A naturals in this tune. So that's something that's unusual. You know, your typical fiddle tune of this time period picks a mode and sticks with it. Usually, there's one exception, which is that there are a whole lot of Mixolydian tunes that have a G sharp here and there. You know, in the key of A, Mixolydian, most of the G's are natural, and then they'll have like a leading tone G sharp.
Right, or a E chord in the end phrase.
Or something of that type. Yeah, but for the most part, these tunes pick a mode, they stay there. Macintosh doesn't do that. because he's not coming at it from the traditional musician playing in the pub type of direction. He's coming out of the classical, you know, chamber music for salons and things like that. And then he's saying, oh, hey, this fiddle stuff is pretty cool. I'm going to spend more time there. And he becomes really good at it. But that is not his origin and background as a musician. And so it is the reason why these reels are more melodic, not rhythmic. You know, there are plenty of reels in Scottish tradition that, you know, that's all about rhythm. There's no melody there. It's all about rhythm. And this is the opposite.
Now, is rhythm probably more for the dancing and the melody maybe less so? Or?
Yeah, if you're thinking as a dance musician, your most important element is the rhythm. People can dance to any old melodic garbage if it's rhythmically correct. They can't dance to any old melody if it's rhythmically wrong.
Right.
So this is, you know, his perspective is not the dance musician's perspective. Nonetheless, he wrote a lot of really successful dance tunes. All right, let's get back to playing the tune, the whole thing. So G pickup note, the droney thing as the theme of the A part, the arpeggio as the theme of the B part with an F sharp pickup note. Here we go.
Do you want to play it for us? Just to get
Yes,
an
yeah,
idea?
sure. I'll play the whole thing for you. Let's play it a little slower.
Oh, thank you.
Just a little slower, yes. From the top again. So one thing I'm going to draw your attention to is the fancy ending with the octave jump. Everybody's ready to do something that sounds more like what we did before.
Mm-hmm.
This is wildly different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, so different it has the tunes only A sharp. So just be ready for that when it comes. The other thing is, no, you don't get to repeat the parts. Sorry, your only practice is to do it the tune again. So also the first bar where I said it has the nice drone thing, in the book it's D for the last note, just like all the other ones.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought it was like this brilliant innovation, but it's actually more practical. So I'm gonna keep playing the F sharp because I like it. That's not what he wrote. He wrote D for the last note of the first full bar. All right, here we go. With that, I'm going to point out a couple more things. The first ending of 4 bars. People don't want to go to E there for some reason. Head for the E. The
it's
first,
like in the jig that we had to go.
Yeah.
Same thing.
You have to go up before.
yeah, you have to go up before you go down. Right, and then despite the splashiness of that last ending, people are so happy with the first 8-bar ending that everybody's heading for that at the end of the whole tune. Resist the temptation to go the easy route. So that's what I have to say about that. I have one more thing to add. If you are a little more confident with the actual notes here, it's the time to turn it into a reel. What I'm doing with the accents there changes it from an etude to a reel.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so take, kind of see if you can sync up with my accents. It's actually pretty basic what I'm doing for most of them. Macintosh, because he's not a dance background, doesn't give us funky rhythms built in, like we would see in a lot of Highland tunes. Neil Gow tunes would have this. he doesn't. So the go-to rhythm figure for accents is number 2 out of 4 eighth notes gets the hardest accent. And that is my go-to rhythm pattern when the tune doesn't divide up into anything funkier than that. Naturally, I just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the eighth notes. All right, so try to work those in if you're more comfortable with the melody from the beginning. was still not dancing speed. So dancing speed would actually be these things are so good for you. I really get your fingers moving. So that is the Honorable Mr. Fraser of Lovett's reel, which is actually a reel. Okay, I'm guessing you don't want another tune by ear, so let's hand out sheet music. There are 4 pages today, and they are pages 13, 14, 15, and 16. Did anybody print the music out and you don't need this sheet music?
No, I need.
Okay, so there are little stacks of 4, so find your 4 pages. If you already printed them, then don't take them. And are we doing a sign-up sheet this time?
I think we've stopped doing the sign-up sheet.
Yeah.
How will I ever learn the names of everybody who's at the workshop?
I will need paper. I didn't print it, which is as well because I'm going to be printing my corrections.
Yes. I didn't print a whole lot of them, so if you did print it out yourself, let somebody else have the paper.
Yeah,
I mean, if we're short, Becky and I can split.
yeah, we can
Yeah, sure.
share.
Absolutely.
I printed out this back there. I'm not gonna lie.
No worries.
So 13, 14, 15, 16.
Is that all right?
That's good. I don't print books.
Okay. Do we have enough?
Do we have enough? Anybody?
Okay.
Well, I only seem to have through 12.
12? Oh, that was handed out last month.
Last
Yeah. So,
Okay, so I do need it then,
all right then.
if you have one, if not,
Russell, I
I
think Marilyn actually has, is that Marilyn?
want to take hers if, you know,
Yeah, but we can look together.
thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, you can also take it home, and then I can get it elsewhere later.
Now, you take this one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Becky
and
and I
then
will share.
and then
We're both going to print it at home.
you're gonna print it at home. Okay.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Great. So, right out of the gate, on page 13 at the top, Miss Russell of Blackhall. This is a book 4 tune, and remember how I said, yeah, I got to book 4, and I was like, oh, he's losing his touch. These are just okay tunes. They're not fabulous tunes. Then you come to a tune like this. Macintosh wrote 3 absolutely fantastic jigs in the key of G minor. Miss Sophia Campbell, I think, is a book 2 tune, which I told you was full of really good original tunes. And then the other 2 are in book 4. And Miss Russell of Blackhall is one of them. This is one that I've recorded. And the chords just hint at all the fun things going on in Macintosh's bass line.
I have an extra stand. Would Basil and Patrick like
No,
to use
we're
it?
fine.
Are you sure?
I'm fine. Yeah.
You sure? I
I
have an
have a
extra
stand back
stand
there.
if anybody needs it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's play through this slower.
Thank you.
But mind your accidentals, right? It's got a B flat and an E flat in it in the key signature, but sometimes the E is not flat, so watch for it. And then there are F sharps in various places, so you just have to be alert. Okay, here we go, slowish. Great tune. Just absolutely fabulous tune.
I know.
All right, we already learned Miss Dr. Grant and the Honorable Mr. Fraser, so on the bottom of page 14, let's learn Miss Barbara Hayes' favorite. And by the way, that favorite, the spelling of favorite, which looks American, that was actually the spelling of favorite that was most common in Scotland in the 1700s. So the standard British spelling of Favourite wasn't standardized until much later, and in Scotland they favored using favorite with no U in it. So Miss Barbara Hayes' favorite, here's how it sounds. Well, sorry. So three-part jig. All right, let's play slower. This tune was adopted recently by the RSCDS for a Scottish country dance called Best Set in the Hall. Nobody plays it because the deviser of the dance liked a certain French-Canadian jig better, and that's the one that gets played. So also the RSCDS adapted it to a 32-bar format, and I'm like, that's a shame. It's like the one Macintosh jig with 3 parts meant to be played 48 bars wrong, and they've got to squish it around. So I like to see them used in their original form if possible.
Trying to find a 48 bar dance.
Well, there are.
Yes.
There are 48 bar dances. So let's go ahead to page 15. And here we have a Strathspey at last. I've been playing this Strathspey for years. It's one of my favorites. It's also, I would say it has a few Macintosh touches. I'll point them out after I've played it. Oh, it's Major James Monroe, by the way. Okay, so the really Macintoshy things. That's something only he would, Neil Gow wouldn't have written that. Even Nathaniel Gow wouldn't have written that. The other thing is the somewhat random snap pattern. This is where, again, I'm gonna claim that there's something going on here, and I have several theories. One of them is one that I've already said. He wasn't at heart a dance musician. Mm-hmm. Strathspeys for dancing have a certain feel to the snaps, and the Macintosh ones are always snapped weird according to that dance rationale. The other element is that we don't have any recordings of Macintosh playing this. I mean, it was more than 200 years ago. And so the snap patterns for Strathspeys vary quite a bit by how fast you intend to play them. So if you intend to play faster, Strathspeys tend to have a lot more snaps in them. Cape Breton Strathspeys. Lots of snaps, because it's brisk. Mm-hmm. Northeast style, lots of not snaps. Intended to be slow, so lots of dots. So either Macintosh wanted his dances to Strathspeys to be played faster than we think they play, or he just put in a lot more snaps than, sort of reckless and profuse with his use of snaps. Anyway, so those are my two ideas, that either it's his non-dance background showing up, or he actually intended them to be played at a different tempo. Let's go ahead and play this. There is one freaky thing that you need to be prepared for. If you're playing an instrument that's not a fiddle, this is not going to be a problem. If you're playing a flute, if you're playing a dulcimer, if you're playing a concertina or an accordion or a piano, no issue. But in the B part, you have to hit that C. There are many ways to do it. You could shift into third position. I find third position awkward. I tend to use second, where it sits really, really nicely. But a lot of people are not practiced on second position, so it is out of tune. So see if you can fix that. The other thing you could do is just extend and then reach for it. That's the least trouble, but is also prone to being out of tune. All right, but you can fix it any way you want. Comes up twice in the B part. love that tune. Yeah. All right, now we have a D minor Strathspey to go with it. We have a D minor reel, and this is one of his fancy ones. It sounds like a violin concerto. Miss Campbell of Siddell's reel. The Campbell of Siddell family got a lot of tunes. She got a super duper wonderful Strathspey, this reel, and then other Campbells, Mr. and Mrs. and the other sisters all got tunes. So okay, let's try it slowly. It makes a great slow reel. No. Okay, moving right
I
along.
can smell the food.
You can smell the food?
Yeah, I can smell the food.
Yeah, they can't smell it on the video though, so let's keep going. All right. Page 16. We have Miss Molly Grant's reel, which he wrote. This is from Book 1. It's the only Book 1 tune in this particular selection. And it's presented as a reel or Strathspey. Given chords as if it's a Strathspey, because you would not change chords that frequently in a reel. So I'm going to play it as a Strathspey, actually. it as a reel.
That sounds classical.
Yeah, it does, but it makes a good strathspey, doesn't it? So let's try it as a strathspey. You have to kind of insert your own dots and steps, and because it's not marked, it's not wrong. More? More? Yes, at least one more time through, yes? Let's not do it as a reel. Okay?
Okay.
All right, now, Mr. John Trotter of Castle Law's hornpipe. This is in Macintosh's time, the late 1780s, 90s, 1800s. It was a very big time for hornpipes to be popular. And, the historical reasons at that time, Great Britain and France were at war. It was Napoleonic Wars, right? And the British Navy was quite important in keeping France from invading Great Britain, both Scotland, England, Ireland. So the sailors' dances, hornpipes, were really popular for that historical reason. And so everybody started writing these hornpipes. Macintosh got on that train, and here's what he wrote. So they're meant to be dotted. Hornpipes are played dotted. And there are two modes of dancing hornpipes. One is for solo dancer with fancy steps. It's usually slow. Or it can be played as if it's a reel, but still dotted. I'm not going to play this one as a reel. I don't think it was meant to be played at that tempo. I figure it is the slower style. Usually the dotted hornpipes are not notated with dots. It's just assumed it's a hornpipe and it should be played slower with dots. Sorry. All right, let's play it.
I
Yeah.
have a question.
Yes.
Are you slurring two notes when you do this?
I'm sometimes doing 3.
Yeah, I wondered. Okay.
And then here's 2. So there's a whole art to hornpipe bowing. When we featured the music of William Honeyman's Real Strathboy and Hornpipe Tutor, we went into the hornpipes and the different types of bowings that he advocated. So there's a whole lot about hornpipe bowings that would be a separate workshop. But yes, you cross the beat, but you try not to let it mess up anything about the rhythms or the bowing patterns. In other words, you can slide in and out of these 3 in a bow and 2 in a bow patterns right back into single bowing as needed. Okay, let's just play it. No. The RSCDS wants it faster.
Oh.
They chose it as the title tune for a reel, a dance. And they meant it to be played at this speed. No, that's too slow. No, just no. This tune is meant to be the slower type. And one thing that you may notice, it's 32 bars long. The 8 bars are meant to be repeated. This is because the fancy hornpipe steps usually take 8 bars to do all the movements on one side, and then you repeat it on the other side. So it would be wrong musically to play different music for the left side than it was for the right side. So hence repeats, and hence the 32 bar form. All right, Miss Isabella Robertson's hornpipe, which is a slip jig. All right, so there's an older form of hornpipes in triple time. It's in 3/2. So in other words, it's like a slip reel, not a slip jig. I don't know what possessed him to decide this was a hornpipe, but he did it twice. There's another tune called Mr. Wilson's Hornpipe, which is a slip jig. So I'm just not going to worry about the name too much and just play the tune, which is a rather nice slip jig.
Isabel's reverse.
So let's play that one. And let's take it a little slower. A little faster. Isn't that sweet? All right. Do we want to play our ear tunes one more time?
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Fraser. Mr. Fraser, love it. And Miss Dr. Grant? All right. I think that's enough for now for this workshop. I'm just going to mention a couple of things looking ahead. There will be a Fiddle Club dance. We haven't settled the date yet, but it's a chance for you to play in a dance band and dance too if you want. And we're looking at a possible date in March or in April or in May or maybe even June. So we'll get that settled, we'll get the word out, and then there will be sets available with rehearsals as well. So we'll get that squared away and make announcements with further details on that one. Also, it's a good time to think about going to a fiddle camp in the summer. I'm going to be teaching at Ohio Scottish Arts this year, which is June 27th through July 3rd, 4th. 4th maybe. I don't know. They're always done by the 4th of July. And it's in the Cleveland area of Ohio. And it also has piping and harping and Highland dancing and drumming. So if you have extended family or friends who are into those things, there's a lot of options there, including small pipes. And there are other camps of all sorts. So pick your time of year that is convenient for you. You can find them in June, July, August, and even into September for a nice intensive week of learning fiddle. And keep in mind, Virginia Scotch Games is Labor Day weekend. And that's always a Fiddle Club performance time. Okay, that's all the announcements I have. Anybody else have any? All right, thank you to online people. Have fun and see you next time.